I then finished my university sort of term, spent the summer working here in Belfast for them, went back for second year, and then I had my placement as well. So I loved working for them. I then ended up working for them as a graduate and stayed with them for sort of 6 years after that. So
great.
Yeah, it was all a bit, I don't have like I was always meant to be a software engineer thing, but I think for me, the main lesson I took out of it all was one thing I always tell young people when I go to careers events is listen to your teachers. They do know best a lot of the time. They have the experience, and don't put all your eggs in one basket. Like if I had gone down the route of, picking sort of two very closely related courses, I would have been a little bit stuck at the same university as well.
Going back even, so you mentioned about just listen to your teachers. That's good advice. And that teacher really knew that you should apply for computer science. You said about, I'd always sort of enjoyed IT. I was good at it. Like, what was it about IT at that stage that, as you reflect now, you think, I was good at it? What was it interested you at that point?
It was definitely like the whole problem solving element of it. And that's why I liked maths as well.
Yeah.
I always loved maths. I love that you could always get an answer. I'm a bit, black and white like that. I don't like the grey where it's like, like for example, like English exams that you do and it's very subjective and you're not really sure if your answer's right or not.
So you love English, but that bit of it,
I was like, it kind of depends. A lot of the time when you did English exams, it really depended on who marked your paper, on how well you did. Where I always knew with like maths and with subjects like IT, you're right or you're wrong. And that's it. And I loved that. I loved kind of knowing one or the other. And I loved figuring things out. So I remember I built like a website and it was part of my coursework for maybe it was GCSE or something. And I loved that thing of like, trying to figure out what it was I was actually trying to build and working out all the different elements that made it up and actually seeing something at the end, seeing something finished and a finished product in front of you. I really loved that. So I think it was that element of building things plus the sort of problem solving elements that I really loved. Yeah.
And you really trusted that teacher as well. So the relationship there, you trust. Yeah. What do you think is it that made that teacher so switched on to be able to see that? And I guess teachers do get a bit of a hard time thinking, well, they've never really left school, maybe. Some would say that. Do they really have a sense of what the real world is like? How do you think that teacher was in a place to give you that good advice?
I think it came down to the ethos of the school. It's a small local community school and that was the point. They knew, like my teacher, or my sister actually now works at the school full time. And it's a school that, the teachers know every student and they know them well. They know who they are. Every student was treated, as an individual and you were really, really well looked after. And I think it was that element of they actually got to know you. It wasn't a school of, 1,500 or 2,000 pupils. I think at the time I went, it was maybe 500 of us. So it was small. Yeah. So I think it was that she had taken the time to actually, look at the subjects that I was interested in, talk to me about, what I liked about those subjects. And then she was just able to offer like a bit of advice. And it also helped that, any kind of opportunity for, going to like, for example, for pharmacy, when I was considering my pharmacy career, all of 6 months, I think I was considering that. There were like taster sessions you could go to in the hospital and I always put my hand up to do those sorts of things. So I think she knew as well that I was sort of keen and interested and that I wanted a career, and I didn't just want a job. I wanted a career that I loved. So she equally was willing to sort of invest in me as well. But yeah, I do think teachers get a bit of a hard rap. They've got a very, very hard job. It's not one that I don't think I would want, if I'm being honest.
It is really difficult. But it sounds like she was focused enough on you and wanted the best for you that, she'll
be so embarrassed that I've even said this. I can imagine her now.
Well, that's a good thing, though. That's a good thing for the rest of us. I know she'll feel a bit embarrassed, but it's lovely that you've got that affection for her and thankful.
And I still talk to her today. Like because the school invested so much in me, I am always, going back to the school to do whatever I can because I know how much I appreciated that and how much it helped me. So, I would go back and do like interview skills day with sort of year 11s.
Yeah.
Any students, we've actually got a couple of students coming to us for work experience in June at Instill. So I've seen the investment that the school made in me in 7 years. So I'm spending any moment I can giving that back and with hers particularly.
Oh, that's good. That's good, yeah. So you mentioned that you were at Assidia first of all, it became Civica.
Yeah.
And tell us a bit about what life has been like then working in software because sometimes the term computer science or software engineering can feel a bit monolithic to folks, I think. But Can you maybe kind of break some of the misconceptions there? Like what does it actually look like to work in software?
Yeah, well, I guess it varies basically depending on the role and depending on how senior you are.
Yeah.
The role I do now is different to the role I, maybe did as a graduate, but a typical sort of software engineer, they kind of would typically, I guess, start their day, talk about basically a bit of a day in the life. They would start their day with what we call daily stand-up. Most sort of software houses would run that. And essentially it's like a 15-minute meeting. You talk about what you did yesterday, what you're going to do today, and if you've got any challenges or blockers. And the aim is really to sort of set you up for the day. What is it that you're going to focus on? And you're sort of held to account to that. You're held to, you get to stand up the next day and it's like, oh, you said that yesterday. What are you actually doing? Which is really, really good as well. It kind of keeps people honest. But really, typically, following that, you might do a bit of coding. So maybe you've got a feature that you have to get out. So you might spend some time with that. The more senior you get, typically the time you get maybe to spend independently coding reduces because your time, I guess, is spent coaching more junior engineers. You might have to attend some meetings to talk about, roadmap for a client, like what is it that they're trying to achieve and what are the things we're going to achieve over the next number of months. So it's a bit more strategic. But generally that would be a bit of work. For me at the minute, I'm working with a US client. So we typically have a lot of sort of time with them and the US people in the afternoon due to the time difference. So yeah, it's varied and no one day really is ever the same. And that's really what I love about it.
Yeah.
Like what I intended, for example, to do today. I came in this morning, was in the office and sat down and thought, right, I'm going to work on this thing today. And before I came here, I had my 10 o'clock stand up and one of the team members is like, with this other thing that I need to do and I'm a bit stuck on it. And I'm like, okay, well, that's the day derailed. What I intended to do today is not going to happen. My focus will be on them and helping them achieve what it is they need to achieve. So I like that. And I like the kind of fact that you're always sort of kept on your toes, that things can just change at the drop of a hat, like what it is you're doing. I would be a bit bored, I think, otherwise. So, yeah.
And have you always been interested in getting alongside others and coaching and mentoring? You mentioned that your colleague that you're going to be working alongside today. So where did that all come from for you? Or is that something you've learned?
I think I've always been interested in sort of teaching and that sort of element. My family are all teachers. So that's also why I'm a bit defensive of teachers, because I really understand firsthand. But
so your dad's a lecturer.
My dad's a lecturer. Okay. My two sisters are teachers. So yeah, and I've got aunts and my grandmother was a primary school teacher as well. So it's very much in the family, that area of teaching. And if I hadn't have gone down the computer science route, I'd also, which I forgot to mention earlier, I'd got accepted to St Mary's. So I was going to, I was going to study secondary maths with science. Yeah. That was also my other option. But the appeals of the software industry were a bit too much to resist at that time. I've always had a keen interest in working with others and helping others. When I was at university, actually, I used to be able to do these like additional sort of extracurricular activities to get what Ulster University call their like Edge Award, which is like an additional thing you can get on top of your degree. And it's by doing sort of volunteering activities or things like that. And I volunteered my time to do projects with local primary schools. And I loved that. I loved like getting out into a different setting, a primary school setting, and like helping young people. So I've always been interested in that. And that does naturally, I guess, translate into work. I've always been sort of keen to want to help people. So yeah.